7:13. The wake-up call continues. 1300 WTLS 106.5 FM. Tally's probate judge, Tallassee County, with us. This is your walk-up music.
Okay.
You were coming up to the plate to bat now. This would be it. Is what you were looking for?
I'm more of a country western person.
Oh, dirt. I didn't get the Garth Brooks or George Strait or anything like that. It's Nickelback. Sorry. I didn't get the memo. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I forgive you this time.
No, well, thank you. 2 years into the position, you were, is that right?
Not quite. I've been running for 2 years, but I took office December a year ago, so I've been here for about 14 months.
Okay. So you're getting into the second year.
Yes, sir. Yes,
so
sir. This is my first election, though.
That's what I wanted to talk about. That's why we got you in here today, because the election, the primary is tomorrow. And do you think you're ready for it?
Well, there's no... You'd be surprised, but there's no real handbook for how to do this.
Yeah.
You have a little guidance from other judges, but they don't lay out a handbook and say, okay, you got to do X, Y, and Z. They're just say, well, you got an election, kind of figure it out. So I feel good about it. We have a very good staff, young staff, but very good staff that have worked really hard. My chief clerk, Brittany Goolsby, being one of those people, Elmore County resident, by the way.
Yeah.
We've just worked really hard, and I feel like we have, everything in order, and we have some really good poll workers, though some are a little more advanced in age, but that just means they've done it a long time, so we're happy to keep as many of those we have. We had poll worker school last Thursday, went very well, spent a couple hours going over, how to open and close a poll, make sure we get all the results, tally correctly, and that they're secure, and so they can be brought back to the courthouse. And so I feel really good about where we're at. There is some, my nerves, I hadn't slept really, really good for the past week, but it's just because my nerves, there are things, it's the things that you can't prepare for, and that you don't anticipate. So, I'm sure that, everything won't be perfect, but we feel good about where we're at. We feel like we've prepared as much as we can.
We got a lot of folks that live in Tallassee County that listen. Obviously, there'll be, polling locations in the city of Tallassee. One is East Tallassee over there.
At City Hall.
At City Hall for that voting precinct, and you'll be tallying up numbers from that, and as well as everywhere else in the county.
That's right.
How many, do you have a number about how many different boxes there are?
There's 26 boxes in Tallassee County. So in Tallassee County, if you think about it, you don't really think about it when you just think about it. But if you look on the map, from East Tallassee to Daviston, where I'm originally from, is about 75 miles. It's about an hour and 10-minute drive from one end to the other on the long side.
Right.
And so we have our further south polling place is the Tallassee City Hall, and our furthest north polling place is the Daviston Town Hall, or Daviston Community Center now, where I'm from. And those are the biggest divergence in our polling places. But we have 26 polling places. And we try to have at least, some of the smaller ones have 3, but we try to have at least 4 people per polling place. Some of your larger ones have 5 or 6, but we try to have 3 or 4 at each polling place, and that kind of gives us some help if we get really busy.
Yeah. Is there a time frame when these numbers come in? Obviously, 7 to 7, the polls will be open tomorrow. Do you have a kind of a window of opportunity to try to get these things done so you can turn them in? What do you say?
Well, the quicker we get them done, the quicker I can go home.
Yeah.
Which is nice, because I'm cooking tonight for our poll workers that come bring the results to the courthouse. I'm having food for them, because they have to drive. The instructors have to drive all to Dadeville from all the locations all over the county, so I want to make sure they have food and they're taken care of, because I appreciate what they do. These people don't make a whole lot of money. Sure, it's not backbreaking labor, but they have to be there about 13 hours, with limited bathroom breaks, And so I appreciate them for what they do. It's such a chore sometimes to get good people to do it, and so I'm very appreciative. Someone do something for them. But so the way that process works is if you're in line, the polls close at 7 p.m. If anyone is in line before 7 p.m., then they have to be allowed to vote.
Right.
So it's kind of dependent on that. If there's not any last-minute people, then we'll have preliminary results. Now, the canvass won't be official, but we'll have preliminary results at each precinct. So if you just really want to know how the Tallassee portion of Tallassee County voted, because I don't want to speak for Elmore County, I don't know what they do, but I'm sure it's very similar. Then if you want to be at that polling place at 7, they'll post a tape.
On the door.
Yeah. On the door. But they're tallied digitally now, so it's relatively quick as long as there are no hang-ups with the machine. And so they tally to a secure USB drive that is then transported to the courthouse along with the ballots. So we have unlike Georgia, who's had all these problems, we have a paper ballot. You fill it out, you mark it, and that way, if the machine ever did tear up, we could just count them.
Yeah.
You count them like you did 100 years ago. It's not a problem. But that does help us a lot with the results part of it. So we don't have to have people down there counting. They can plug in when they close the polls. The machine itself prints out a tape, just like you would a computer, but it's a small, I guess, more like an ad machine.
Yeah.
Like ad machine tape. They prints out 3 copies, but 1 for the door. Posted on the door. So we're hopeful that each polling place would be. There's some procedures they have to go through in terms of securing that USB stick in a sealed envelope and things before they can get to posting and getting out the door. We're hopeful by 7:30, maybe even sooner or later, depending on how many people are in line. 7:30, 8 o'clock, we'll know at each precinct. It'll take a little longer for all those people to get to the courthouse, and then we will upload that USB drive through a secure site to the Secretary of State's office, and so they'll know relatively quickly how to tally. And we'll have the results there at the courthouse in the basement where the county commission meets in the auditorium. In the basement of Tallassee County Courthouse, we'll be posting results for each race there. So you're welcome to come. It's open to the public. More than happy. There will be a small number of people from the public that come. Then there's several reporters from the Associated Press, the Alexander City Outlook, probably the Tallassee Tribune. I don't know, but somebody from TPI will be there, I'm sure. And then to relay results. So anybody's welcome to come. During the day though, we'll be pretty busy. So don't expect a lot of FaceTime. I'm sorry.
Did you went through this process, as you said, I guess about 14 months ago when
Sure.
you were running yourself?
Sure.
Obviously, you were nervous. You're trying to be elected. Are you more nervous now than you were then? It's a little different situation.
I am more nervous now because, at the end of the day, as painful it would have been, as it would have been if I'd have lost, and I ran, the primary and a general.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, it didn't really affect anybody but me. So, I guess my family, my mama, people who helped me and worked for me. But it really didn't. It affects a small group of people.
Yeah.
You're accountable. Tallassee County based, depending on, what the new census number says, are, just a little under 50,000 people. So you're accountable to 50,000, a little less than 50,000 people. And so, that's a little more jarring experience than just being accountable to yourself. So I'm a little more nervous about it. And also because, just like I said, it's being my first time doing this, but like I said, I feel confident. The sheriff, Jimmy Abbott, has been a lot of help. The 3 election people in most counties, and it varies somewhat, are the probate judge, the circuit clerk, and the sheriff. And they kind of work in consort. And the sheriff and the circuit clerk, Patrick Craddock, have been through this several times before. This is not their first go-around. They've been a lot of help, assured me and make sure that we're doing the things we need to do. So I appreciate their help, and that's really helped make it a lot easier than it otherwise would have been. But it's still a little bit daunting to do something that, there is no, black and white blueprint for every X, Y, and Z. There are things that you have to get done by a certain date, and you just have to make sure they get done, which we've done. We have a calendar. It's laid out months in advance, in our office for everything that we have to do by what date. And so we've met all those deadlines. I feel like, as long as everything goes according to plan, which it probably won't, but most of it will, hopefully, then we'll be fine. And if there's hiccups, then we'll address those hiccups. I'll be at the courthouse at 6 tomorrow morning, so we'll address those hiccups as they come. I mean, nothing's going to be perfect, but I think we're in place to run a very smooth, competent election. And I don't expect any problems.
It's a good crew you got there. I mean, Patrick and Jimmy, I know both of those guys are going to be good to have in your corner. Mm-hmm. 6 tomorrow, a long day for you because you won't end until at least a little while after election. But
we're hoping for 10
o'clock,
10 p.m. It depends on the absentee numbers are down this year so far. I think part of that's probably, I don't want to speak for Patrick, he's our absentee election manager, but I think that's probably because they have tightened up a little bit of the absentee requirements as far as ID and things like that. So they're down a little bit. That doesn't mean turnout will be down, but the absentees have to be verified, and it takes a little longer to count those than it does if just the regular votes. And so the number of absentees is based on what I've talked to Patrick and the sheriff, is directly related to how late we get out of there. And so I feel like we're hoping for around 10 o'clock, but at the latest, it'll probably be 11 or 12.
We're talking with Tallassee, Tallassee County probate judge, and your county, just like all the others around. This is not just a local election. There are local races in there. I know there's county commission in Elmore County, and you've got different races that involve local people, but it's a presidential primary as well. So it's going to be interesting to see the full gamut. And you talk about turnout. Presidential primaries usually bring a lot of folks out, don't they?
Sure. I think we would probably see more if it was a competitive Republican primary, just because how Republican our state is.
There are only two on the candidate. There's actually an opponent for Donald Trump.
Bill Weld, who's from Massachusetts, but I mean, let's just be honest, he's not going to get very many votes. So,
I think we all know that.
So I mean, that's just being honest. So we'll see. I talked to the Secretary of State and his wife Cindy last Saturday, and I think he said he expects turnout to be anywhere from around 900,000 to 1.2 million, which is relatively small. I forget what Alabama's population is. It's about 6 million, so it's about 15 to 20%.
Depending on how many of those are voters registered, over the 4.5, 5 million.
So I don't know how many. I don't know the registered number off the top of my head. I guarantee you the Secretary can tell you what it is. Yeah, but I think what he said is ballpark around 20% turnout, which seems about normal for a primary without a competitive Republican primary. So. We'll see that turnout. We really don't have very many local races in Tallassee County. Most of our Republican incumbents are unopposed. We do have a county superintendent of education race between Nancy Hatcher and Raymond Porter that people in county, people in Reeltown, Liberty City, people over that way will be voting for. Wall Street is in that. Anybody not in the city school system. Exactly. Not in the city school system will be voting for. But that's really the only local thing we have. So the presidential numbers will drive turnout anyway. So I'll be interested to see what happens with the Democratic primary and really and truly to see what happens with the Republican primary. Because if you look at New Hampshire and places like that, even though Trump really didn't have any opposition, the numbers were up over 4 years from 4 years before. So New Hampshire turnout was up, even though there's really not a competitive race in the Republican primary. So Trump may bring out the voters anyway. Yeah, definitely. And then there's the U.S. congressional race, which is on the other side. It wouldn't be for Tallassee. But we all get Channel 12, so we've been watching ads. There's been a bunch of those, for a month. Obviously, it's a huge race there. And the state senator's race, which everybody will be voting for. That's right, the U.S. Senate race. I forgot about that. So you do have a competitive U.S. Senate race. It's hard to be prognosticator, but I think I've got the sample ballot in front of me. But you think the three people you've seen the most out of are Jeff Sessions, Tommy Tuberville, and Bradley Byrne. Right. I think everybody expects two out of those three. It's going to be a runoff, probably. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would think so. Yeah, we'll have a runoff 30 days from now. In our case, because we don't have one competitive local race, and there's not but two candidates. More than likely, we'll have 26 polling locations to vote for U.S. Senate, and that'll be it. We don't have anything else. No. But that makes my job easier, so I'm not complaining. Yeah. Your office is not there just to count votes, but you guys do everything from driver's license to tags and. We have our normal functions. I mean, we do all your probating wills and estates, driver's license, tags. But it's not just that we count votes. We make sure that we have poll workers in all these precincts. Because people drop out, people are out of town, people have medical emergencies. We have to have backup, so we recruit and make sure we have those. We work with the board of registrars to make sure you get the correct ballot. We have to make sure the polling locations are. The sheriff does a lot of that, but make sure they're open and available. Handicap accessible. All those things, the ADA compliant, etc. So we handle all that and all the paperwork that goes along with it. And I wanted to say that to commend you and your office here. I'm not trying to pat you on the back, but I am. Because you guys were very kind to me when I had to come and renew my license. I did let it expire. I did put it in my phone. It's good to get the app on your phone. It's a calendar, and you could actually put a reminder in. I put it 4 years down the road so I don't forget next time. Okay. But you guys were so nice and handling that, and I was in and out in a jiffy. Now, that's one of those days where maybe I got there at the right time. I'm sure some days are busier than others. Well, now, for anybody who was there Friday, obviously last day of the month, it's always a heavy tag day, but I think we did a pretty good job. We try to do a pretty good job of managing that. We have a good staff, and we try to make sure they're customer service focused. That's something that our leadership preaches, me and my chief clerk, to our people, that we work for taxpayers, and we try to be focused on that. But when we normally have 3 windows, but when we have that big crowd, we'll have my chief clerk. She's got a desk back there. We'll open up a corner. You might be standing in a corner somewhere, but we'll take care of you, and that just helps that line move a little faster. So, it may not be the most luxurious experience. You may be standing in a corner in a back office, but we'll take your money. We'll give you a tag. We'll get you out the door. So I think like I said, Friday we were swamped, and it's the biggest crowd I've seen probably in months and months, but I think we do a pretty good job of moving those people as fast as we can. The state doesn't make anything easy. So,
well, I got to see it firsthand. You're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that because we really do try.
Well, we appreciate what you're doing, and I'll just say I hope you get a good night's rest tonight. So tomorrow will be a long day, but we appreciate what you guys do, and best of luck with it.
Well, I really appreciate it. I just want to remind everybody that the polls are open 7 to 7 tomorrow. Please exercise your right to vote. There's been a lot of people that paid a heavy price to make sure we're able to.
No doubt about it. Appreciate that, and good advice. We'll talk to you soon, Tal.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Tal East, probate judge, Tallapoosa County. Get ready for tomorrow's election. It's always a good line to give people. Vote. It's pretty simple. You got an opportunity to do something to make your voice be heard, so make sure you do go. I hope you're registered. And cast your ballot tomorrow from 7 till 7 at your polling location, wherever that may be. One of the candidates is here.